Mic'd up.
Rovner from the Mic'd Up platform. I'm AJ Rovner, joined alongside Mike Delegati. Talk about the New York Giants 2025 NFL Draft. We'll go through each of the 7 selections New York made. We'll jump into some of the UDFA signings, undrafted free agents, that is, that New York made following the conclusion on Saturday night. Talk about a little bit of the depth chart, and then some of the other surprises of the draft. Certainly a lot of key highlights. One of the biggest draft falls I think the NFL has ever seen. So we will start off by just talking about the overall Giants draft and what you think.
I really like, honestly, a lot of it. I know there were talks that we had previously, like we should have grabbed a center at a certain point. But I mean, just to start out, can we talk about Abdul Carter just to start out? I mean, is he not someone immediately when they drafted? Because I mean, when I saw him originally, especially wearing that Penn State 11, it reminded me exactly of Micah Parsons. I mean, that guy's just a freak athlete. He could play like they were. I was just watching some last night where they were talking how he's only played edge for the last 2 seasons. I mean, it's not even his primary position, so
Yep.
he's got so much room to grow in it. So for him to be that versatile and that scary to play that position, he's only going to get better.
Yeah, so to go through the Giants draft class, or go guy by guy, this was the 3rd overall selection. It says a lot when it's not a team need, but you still get a guy just because of how dominant you think he can just grow. And it's just such a fact about Carter. This wasn't necessarily someone that the Giants needed. They have a Kayvon Thibodeau. You have Dexter Lawrence. You just traded for Brian Burns a little bit over a year ago. So this wasn't necessarily somebody that you needed per se when it came to a position, but just a generational talent, as you said. This is a guy that could play off ball as a linebacker. He can move to a pass rusher on 3rd downs. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. Looking at some of his college numbers. Had 23 sacks in 3 years. Led the country in tackles for loss last year with 24 at 68 total. Was an All-American at Penn State. Came as a linebacker my sophomore year, right? 2022. Yeah, so my sophomore year when I was there. And just truly someone that can really make the Giants have one of the best defensive fronts in the National Football League. We'll go to the 2nd pick now. I know you're very high on this guy. We'll talk about him next. So the Giants traded up from Houston with the Texans to get into the 1st round to take Jackson Dart with the 25th overall selection, which Adair Sanders and Dart both falling in the 1st round. Joe Shane made a big splash and got the quarterback from Ole Miss. The Giants have obviously had a lot of success with quarterbacks in the 1st round, in which they traded for Eli Manning. They traded with the Chargers, so traded picks. Now they just traded picks with Houston, so we'll see how that plays out. This is a guy that's 6'2", 223 pounds.
So I think AJ's having some technical difficulty.
Nah, I'm good. So
All right.
Jackson Dart, this is Dart, 6'2", 215 pounds. Was a 3-year full starter at Ole Miss. Led the country in completion percentage, yards per attempt, yards per game. Over 300, almost 330 yards per game. 4,279 yards. 29 touchdowns, 6 picks. So
All right. So you obviously know I'm very high on this kid. I think that people, when they said this was not the draft to draft a quarterback, um, and next year would be the class, I do agree with that. But this kid in particular was worthy of trading up for a 5th-year option to give him the opportunity to lead and headline the Giants franchise, right? So let's just talk about the beginning of Jackson Dart. Played 3 years at his local high school. They did not have a major passing offense, right? He then had left, and he had gone to Corner Canyon High School, which is like right across the street from his old high school. Like it was right down the road. One of the powerhouse high schools in the country. His senior season, he passed for 4,700 yards and 67 touchdowns, along with rushing for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior in high school. He went on to play at USC. The reason why he picked USC is because he said, I want the challenge of going there and having to beat out guys for a top spot because I know I'm that good. And I just watched something the other night with him talking about this because they asked him. I was watching John Gruden's quarterback interviews, and he said, if you're not walking on that field thinking you're the best in the league, then there's no point of you going out on the field because you're already secondary to everybody else. You've already lost. And that is the mentality I want my quarterback having every single day. I want him to walk out on the field thinking there's nobody out here better than me. And you can look at it. I mean, this is what I particularly didn't like about Daniel Jones and the Giants pick when they picked him in the first round is he's a Duke quarterback. He played in the ACC. I mean, the best team you're going to play is like Boston College, like Syracuse. Like you're not going to play at Alabama. You're not going to play in Ohio State, a Michigan powerhouse, right? I mean, this kid has won big games. I know this year he fell short to LSU in overtime, but last year he went into Death Valley against the Jaden Daniels and beat him. Um, I mean, that's a statement to go home and, I mean, absolutely obliterate Georgia. Like, I mean, it wasn't even close, 28-10 to go in. And I mean, the fans rushed the field and took the goalpost down. This guy's a legend down there in Ole Miss. How do you not love him? He's done everything he's supposed to do. I think, the whole idea of him running people over and trucking people. I mean, he told Gruden, it's the 2+ rule, and Gruden didn't even know what that meant. And he goes, well, the fall forward 2 yards after you make contact. And Gruden's like, no, I need you to go down. You're gonna get hurt. Like, get out of bounds. So I agree, but he's got that dog mentality in him that he just wants every single piece of it, and you can't teach that to somebody. And I think that's the reason why Sanders fell is he didn't have that same I want to win mentality more than everybody else.
Well,
So I'm a big fan on this guy. I think he's going to be real good, and especially behind Russ and learning and mentoring. I'm happy with this pick.
that was the exact fact I'm gonna lead into. This is gonna be a really a majority of a learning year for Dart. If the Giants start off very slow, a 1-6, a 1-7, and the Giants are clearly not in contention. This is going to be Dart's job. You would have to think the layout right now would be that Wilson's your week 1 star. It's pretty much been announced. And then Dart will either be the number 2 or number 3. They're saying he's going to get a lot of third team reps. Dable said, so I'd assume Winston's going to be the 2. And then Dart will most likely be the emergency quarterback on game days. And then I guess DeVito will either be a practice squad, get outright released, and find another job. But Dart certainly don't expect him to play much his first year. Eli was groomed by Kurt Warner. That turned out pretty good. He's a Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer, so maybe it'll be the same fortune for the quarterback out of Mississippi. We go to the third round now. Giants at the first pick of the third round. They took Darius Alexander, another player the Giants were very high on, as they spoke about. Defensive tackle out of Toledo, get a little action going. This is a guy who's extremely physical. The rare talent of being able to drop into some coverage sometimes is a big highlight. His most known highlight in college is him, taking the ball over 50 yards on a pick six. This guy's extremely athletic for over a 300-pounder. Got an overall grade of 88 by scouts. Who's actually his overall rank was 29. That's first round value to some. Last year, Alexander played in every game for the Zips, had 3.5 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss, 40 tackles, and all 5 pass deflections. So certainly a player that could help the Giants on the interior. And on paper, I mean, just thinking about it, Carter, if you have a 5-man rush, I mean, this is Carter, Lawrence, Alexander, Thibodeau, and Burns. I don't know if it gets much better, but that was a Giants third round pick, Darius Alexander out of Toledo. Tell me a little bit about him, Mike.
I mean, I really like him. I think it's someone that you could put next to Dexter Lawrence and make him comfortable. Um, I mean, the guy's getting four hands on him every single game. I mean, he's getting double teamed all game long. So to finally put somebody in there to take some of that, pressure off his back, I think it's huge. I think anything helps when it comes to that. One of your better defensive players, if not your best defensive player on the team. I mean, obviously, we're going to see how well Abdul adapts to the NFL speed, but you know, to have some help for Dexter. I mean, you got Kayvon, you got Burns, you have such a powerful defense now. Where I think defense wins championships. Personally, I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl teams we had, our defense was phenomenal. OCU Manura. But you get my point. Like we have a team now that can potentially give our offense the opportunity to rebuild and win. And that's something we haven't seen Giants football for a long time, where where they were just taking losses and tanking for top picks, and it's tough to watch as a fan. I think giving them the opportunity to have a great defense and letting their offense rebuild. I mean, we could still make the playoffs, which is an exciting thing to look at. So I
Yeah.
really like this guy. I think he's going to be really good for us.
And then you go to the fourth pick, and of course, Alexander may not be as well known and can make a big impact, but this guy was pretty much countrywide known just for his performance and single handedly carrying an offense into the college football playoff, and that's Cam Scattaboo. Fans are very excited about him. Scattaboo, 5'10, 219 pounds out of Arizona State. Guy that only played 2 years of college football. Really interesting. Well, 2 years of Division I football at Arizona State. But last year's really where he made his impact. He led his conference in attempts, yards, plays. He came fifth in the Heisman voting. Had over 2,300 scrimmage yards. I mean, that's just ridiculous. 24 touchdowns, averaged 5.8 yards per carry. I mean, really special stuff. They had a rookie head coach last year, too. Arizona State was one of the most fun stories in college football with one of the most fun players. He was the first FBS player since Christian McCaffrey, which was 2015, to have at least 1,500 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards in a single season. There's one highlight he had. I wish I remember the play where he was tackled at the goal line, like maybe 5 yards behind, and just threw two defenders aside and scored. It's a really nice change of pace back, I think, for Tyrone Tracy. The Giants running back is young, and I think it's going to be really solid. It reminds me a little bit of Jacobs and Bradshaw, just two guys that could really get at it. And it just shows, right, that you could take running backs later and they could still do a lot of damage. So, really excited to see what Scattaboo brings to the offense. And it was certainly a splash. He got a 76 overall grade from scouts. He was the 78th overall ranked player in the draft. So, I believe that's a third round value. So, really nice pick there by New York. Tell me a little bit about Cam Scattaboo.
So yeah, let's go back to what you said. His highlight against Cincinnati. I mean, that's just that no quit mentality. I'm getting in there to be tackled 5 yards behind the line and still break free. And he's not a big guy. I mean, I know typically NFL running backs on average are 5'9" and 220, just like him, but they're not big guys. But they have low sense of gravity. They're strong in the legs. They push the pile, right? But let's talk about the attributes, right? He wasn't the fastest guy at the combine, right? He wasn't the fastest 40 time, but if you watch his first step, his quickness, his vertical, I can't remember his vertical. I want to say it was high 30s. He's got a very fast step, right? So I think this is a type of guy that the Giants can really He's the type of guy the Giants can really use anywhere. I mean, if you need a third down back, he's got great hands. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield for you. If you need someone that's gonna just want to go, rush the outside, he can definitely hit there. This gives me very much of like a smaller Brandon Jacobs vibe type of guy where he could push the pile if you need him to, and he's not afraid to get dirty. But he also has that Ahmad Bradshaw characteristic of being able to use his hands and go to the outside. So I really think I really think this guy's really going to be a positive way for a positive start for our running back room. I mean, obviously he's got Tracy and Singletary in there already. Um, but yeah, I mean, this guy's first team All American, first team All Big 12, All Big 12, and then he's just been decorated everywhere he's gone. So I'm hoping it's gonna push over to the NFL. That would be a great pick here for the Giants in the fourth round.
Into the interior we go on the offensive end. The Giants took Marcus McBow in the 5th round. Got this pick from the Seahawks, I believe, in the Leonard Williams trade. This is a guy that started 18 games at right tackle over the past 2 collegiate years, but he's going to move over to the inside, more of a tackle in college. I just said he'll move over to guard. They just think his length is a little bit too short to play tackle. They say the footwork might be a little bit of a concern. Played at Purdue. Purdue wasn't very good last year, so we'll see how that translates. I know it doesn't really mean much when your team's not very good, but you're relied on heavier when your offense really struggles. I feel as though he reunites with Tyrone Tracy Jr., who also went to Purdue, to my knowledge, right? Tracy Jr. was a Boilermaker. I'm almost positive. He, no, Tyrone Tracy Jr. went to Iowa. Oh, wow. Sorry. No, he did go to Purdue. He finished at Purdue, right. 2 years at Purdue. He did finish there, so he'll team up with Tyrone back in the Big Apple. So this is a guy that had an overall ranking of 88 and a grade of 74 by a combination of scouts. Giants offensive line could never have enough depth. I mean, right now, we could go through their depth chart. Of course, Andrew Thomas is going to start at left tackle. John Runyon, who we got in free agency last year, will be the left guard. Greg Van Roden, who will play right guard. Illuminor will be the right tackle. Schmidt. So it's mostly going to be the same starting five on the offensive interior. I certainly think Mabo can give Van Roden a run for his money at right guard. We'll see. But the Giants also made a lot of free agent signings. They signed James Hudson from Cleveland. They signed Stone Forsythe from Seattle. So certainly a lot of different options, and we'll see what the Giants do. But never can have enough depth on the offensive line, and the Giants decide to take the guard out of Purdue. Don't know if there's much else to say about an offensive guard here in the 5th round, but tell me what you know about Mabo.
I just think, like you said, let's go back to the Giants' offensive line. Their selections for first rounds for years, and I think you can agree with me that yes, it's important to have a well-established offensive line because if you don't, you can't have a passing or a rushing game. But we have wasted so many years with valuable picks to try to find the right guys, and it seems to be like Andrew Thomas has been the only one that's really paid off. I mean, like Flowers was terrible. They even tried to move him to
Evan Neal.
yeah, I mean, we've even tried to move them to other positions and they couldn't maintain. So the waste first round picks again and again and again and again. I mean, I feel like this year we didn't. I was excited about that, but to pick a guy in the fifth round, this tells me this is somebody that knows that their spot's not safe and that they're hungry to get in there and that they're going to want to make a name for themselves. So picking somebody that might be have, a little bit smaller or less reach that they wanted and moving them in position, this is them telling him, "Hey, listen, Marcus, we want you here, but this is where we want you." So this is going to give him the opportunity to really show, New York Giants football what he has to offer and I wish him the best. I hope it works out because, like you said, you can never have too much depth as an offensive lineman, especially on the New York Giants. So, yeah, I think it was a decent pick.
We'll now move on to the Giants' next selection. They did not have a pick in the 2nd or 6th rounds in this draft, so they took two guys in the 7th. They did take a guy I personally saw. I saw his last collegiate game ever, the Pinstripe Bowl. Didn't know he'd be a Giant then, but they took Thomas Fedone, the second out of Nebraska, tight end, overall grade of 58. So I believe that might be the Giants' lowest. Nope, second lowest grade. 11th best tight end off the board, 158 overall rank. This is a position of concern for me a little bit of New York, to be completely honest. I love Theo Johnson. He went to Penn State, but I don't think there's much there after him. I don't. Daniel Bellinger had a nice first season with Jones, but I feel like has regressed each of the next two. It's a big year for him, the last year of his rookie contract. Chris Manhurst is more of a blocking tight end. Greg Dulcich never really got a look last year, but he was nice off of waivers from the Broncos late last year. Fedone, this is a guy who played with the number one ranked prospect, ranked recruit, sorry, going into last season, and Dylan Raiola, and he had 36 catches for 373 yards. And he did not score a touchdown last year, but certainly a guy that can hopefully help in the passing attack. I mean, to have two young tight ends like that. I mean, the Giants now have taken three tight ends in the last 4 years. So between Johnson, Bellinger, and Fedone, so they're going to really try and find something that works. We all know that Wilson loves utilizing his tight ends, so we will see how that plays out. Like Wilson loved Fryermuth last year. So, I mean, he had Jimmy Graham for a long time in Seattle. So, we will certainly see how these guys are used when Russ takes the week one snaps. But we'll see. It's a depth addition. Every draft pick makes the team pretty much. So, if it don't be on the team week one, I don't know how big of an impact he will have, but certainly another depth piece for New York. Talk to me a little bit about Thomas Fidone the second.
Um, I think, like you said, like we kind of have our tight end right now, but we need that depth spot. I think this guy can block. He's 6'5", 243. I mean, he's definitely not a small guy, but yeah, I think he gives us more of a well-rounded look. I mean, he led the team. He led Nebraska in 2023 with 4 receiving touchdowns. Played in all 12 games. He doesn't have any accolades per se, but I guess when you get to seventh round, it doesn't really come too often. But I think this is a guy that's gonna keep our tight end room well rounded. I'm excited. I mean, I think the Giants drafted particularly very well in this draft, and that's not something that we're really. I mean, I personally think that we're really not well known for when it gets down to positions like this. So I mean, when you have a tight end room like you said, you have Theo Johnson, Bellinger's in there, Dulcich we didn't get to use. I think this guy makes it more well rounded. He could block, so I'm happy with it. But he did have a knee injury, so we do have to watch that.
Yes, that is very true. Devin, the injury that maybe halted him into the later rounds. I agree with that. Then the Giants in the seventh round, their last pick, their second of two. In the final round, took Corey Black, a 6 foot, 190 pound corner from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. A 4 year, played 5 years there, got the extra year due to COVID eligibility, a 4 year starter, had 4 interceptions, 25 pass deflections, two forced fumbles, did have a collegiate touchdown, blocked a field goal, fun fact, had 100 tackles. The Giants, depth chart wise, they certainly enhanced it, the secondary, in the offseason. They signed Javon Holland. He's a slam dunk free safety from Miami. They also got Paulson Adebo from the New Orleans Saints. He's a slam dunk guy to start at corner. I would think the left cornerback position. But then after that, it's really where Black can start to make some noise. Tyler Nubin, of course, playing strong safety. This guy's a corner, so Trey Hawkins been there a long time. He's never had a full on role. Deontay Banks really struggled last year, but Drew Phillips going to play nickel for sure. But between Flott, Banks, Hawkins, Art Green was on the team last year. There's space for him to certainly grow through this depth chart at corner. There's some guys that are certainly locks that will play. But this is the best Giant secondary I could think of in a really long time between Adebo, Newman, Phillips, Holland. And you just have to think that Shane's really done well with the secondary last year between Phillips and Newman. The year before, Banks was great his rookie year. Maybe just wasn't ready to face the number one wide receiver each week like last year. But hopefully Black turns out to be the same. It's the deepest he's ever taken a running back, seventh in the seventh round. But we will certainly see how this plays out. Tell me a little bit what you know about Corey Black before we turn over to some of the undrafted free agents the Giants signed, and then we'll go to their depth chart and wrap it up.
Yeah, so I think another decent pick. I think when you get to the late seventh round, it's tough to find somebody. It's going to be an impact starter for you, obviously. So you're looking for a guy that right now is going to just fill in some depth, um, be like an average backup for right now. But I think he will have an opportunity to start on special teams for the Giants if
True.
he can somehow win over the coaching staff during training camp and put on a good preseason performance because he's had good numbers for special teams. Like you said, he blocked. He's got a block in there. He does have a collegiate touchdown. He's very fast. I mean, at his pro day, he showed elite speed. Um, he's going to be a really good punt gunner. I think that he'll put him on the outside and let him just run downfield. He's very fast. He's very fast. He's got precise footwork and easy change of direction. These are all of his strengths, but he does have some tendencies of weakness. um, Late to locate the football and attack catch point downfield, which will be tough. And I think this is all stepping stones. So I think obviously when you get to an NFL team, these are things that they're going to work on with him. Everybody has a specialty coach, and especially when you're paying someone so much money, it's not like college. Although obviously they want to play well, now it's becoming real more of a business. So they don't want their business to fail. So I'm sure they're gonna make sure they really get on top of this kid, make sure that he's doing the right things and progressing him for the future.
Great call there on Corey Black's 40 time. Giants at their scouting report, Dable and Schiff said elite speed. This is a guy that had a 39-inch vertical and a 4.35 40-yard dash. So certainly a guy that can fly down the field. And these late round draft picks certainly find their way on special teams. A guy like Darius Musso last year, I believe he was a Giants 7th round, 6th round pick. He was playing a lot of special teams last year. It's how you hang around in this league and wind up getting your opportunity on the defensive side of the ball. So that's the Giants draft class. Once again, they took Carter, an edge from Penn State, Dart, Ole Miss quarterback, Darius Alexander, Toledo defensive tackle, Scatterboo running back, Arizona State, and Bo offensive guard, Purdue, Fidone, Nebraska tight end, and Corey Black cornerback from Oklahoma State. 7 picks, 2 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 2 in the seventh. We'll now turn our attention to the Giants DFA tracker. He stands for undrafted free agents. The Giants, to this point, have signed 12 undrafted free agents. Butte Collins, wide receiver, Notre Dame. Delenn Cambry, wide receiver, Louisiana. Jordan Blythe, a wide receiver from Gardner Webb. Nate McCollum from North Carolina. Antoine Juice Wells, wide receiver from Ole Miss. I mean, it's the most wide receivers I think I've ever seen on a training camp roster. 5 undrafted free agents. Then you got to go. You have Neighbors, Sladen, Robinson, Humphrey, Hyatt, Pascal, Montrell Robinson, Smith, Marzetti, and Bryce Ford Ween. That's 14 wide receivers on the Giants training camp roster. You can only carry 90 guys. I mean, that is just an insane amount of wide receivers. Of course, the one that a lot of people are talking about is Antoine Juice Wells because he paired up with Dart. But to continue, the Giants also picked up Jermaine Terry, tight end from Oregon State. Certainly an outside chance looking in there. RJ Delancey III, it's a cornerback from Wisconsin. They also picked up Tommy McCormick, who can also play corner and safety, defensive back from Idaho. Makari Page, national championship at my sister's alma mater, the University of Michigan. He could play safety. And then the only guy I believe we're missing is Jason Williams. He plays offensive line from FCS, or is it? Yeah, it's FCS, Youngstown State, right? FCS is the one that's lower, right? FCS football is FBS, right? FCS. Yep. FCS, Youngstown State in Pennsylvania. They got a few rookie camp invites. They invite Jimmy Holiday, Blake Arnew, Ja'Kai Douglas, Isaiah McLeavy, Red Douglas, Eric Anderson, Jeremiah Ojo. So that is now 7 more Giants, 19 total being added to this roster with the attempt to make the 53 come the end of week number 3 in the preseason. I know you like Antoine Juice Wells because you like Dart, so tell me a little bit about him. and then I'll give one of my guys that I like off of
All
this
right.
undrafted free agent list.
So I like Wells a lot. I know Ole Miss is a very aggressive, deep threat offense. They like to push the ball downfield, but obviously he doesn't have the most amazing stats that you would see from an offense that has that. Only picking up last year 28 receptions for 553. But out of those 28, he had 6 touchdowns. He averaged 20 yards a catch. So it's, well, 19.8, but he averaged 20 yards a catch. I mean, this is a guy that goes up downfield and can make plays. That's what that tells me. I think, prior years, like I think, Dart's first year there, he had 68 receptions for almost 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. So to have a third of the receptions, have half the yards, same amount of touchdowns. I mean, I think this guy, when he catches the ball, he can be electric with it. So I
Yeah.
think he has the best opportunity to make the team out of all the receivers. But there's other guys. I know they. This is one of the most receivers I've ever seen get
Yeah.
taken.
Yeah. 14's a lot of guys.
That's a lot of receivers. I know. I know. There's a lot of guys like believe we're in a 4-3. I know that Felton's 6'5". So it's all diverse in terms of who can play what. But I really like Wells. I'm really high on him. I think he'll make Dart comfortable too.
Yeah, all NFL teams, I'd say, usually carry six wide receivers in week one. Smith Marzetti's going to be the Giants' punt slash kick returner, so I'd assume they'll keep six other guys there. But it's kind of crazy to think that Emir Smith Marset against the Colts had that punt return touchdown. If he doesn't return it, the Giants have the number one overall pick. It's just kind of crazy to think about when you, in the grand scheme of things. But the one that I really like, I'm a little biased, but I just like guys that know how to perform on the biggest stage. That's Makai Page for me. He's a safety from Michigan. Had the most tackles ever had in his career last year. Had the most interceptions he ever had in his career. So certainly someone who can make an impact. Played in big time games, like I just said. 45 tackles. So we will certainly see how he fares out. The Giants secondary, I could certainly see this being a position where they do keep an undrafted free agent. It's very difficult to make a roster that way between free agency and also the draft. Usually keep all your draft picks. So it's really seven more guys that the Giants are going to keep for sure. Outside chance looking in, but hey, look at Victor Cruz, a guy from Massachusetts, became one of the best Giants wide receivers of all time. Let's go through the Giants depth chart. We'll talk about a few other highlights from the NFL draft and wrap it up here on half a century of episodes or half a hundred episodes of the Rovner Report. So, Giants wide receiver group, as we just talked about. So, I'll go through the entirety of the offense, then you could peek out some if you see something I don't. But we touched on the offensive line already. The wide receivers, I'd say, that are pretty much a lock to make this team are Neighbors, Slayton, Robinson, Smith Marsetti would be four. Hyde, I think, is going to has a very good shot. That's five. Pascal, I do think will make the team from Arizona. That's six. And then it's really going to be a challenge to see who's that seventh guy that's going to be receiver. Bryce Ford Whedon's been around a long time now. And then you have all these undrafted guys. So we'll certainly see how that plays out. Tight end, I could see Daniel Bellinger being cut in his fourth year. The Giants don't have much left to pay him. I doubt they'll pick up his fifth year option. Speaking about fifth year options, Evan Neal's fifth year option was not picked up by New York. He'll be a free agent at year's end. And then if you go to running back, I think Eric Gray's on the wrong side of the bubble right now. I certainly think he can get cut. Dante Miller Turbo, he looked good every preseason, he just never gets a chance. I think he might be able to squeak in as the fourth running back, even though teams sometimes don't keep four running backs anymore, they keep three. But anything on the offensive side of the ball, a guy that you think maybe can get caught here. I think Devin Singletary's got a shot to maybe be let go. Giants want to get really young there, but I think he hangs around as a veteran presence. I think Jameis Winston might get cut now. If they feel comfortable enough with Dart being the number two, I think DeVito's certainly the odd man out right now. So certainly a lot of interesting outlooks here on the offensive side of the ball. Anything that pops out to you?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you a question. For, personal opinion. Now you got a
Yeah,
guy like Dart. He's coming in. He's a rookie.
yeah,
He's new. He's from Utah. I mean, we're flying across the country now to the Big Apple, where, if you play one bad game, every fan's gonna go, "You're a bust. You're a bust." How do you
right.
react to that, right? So, like, now, obviously, he's alone in this process. Although he has a lot of people coming for him, and say, "Oh, you're our number one guy. Whatever you need, I'll get done for you." Blah 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 blah. Right? Is it important to waste a roster spot on a guy like Wells just to give him the opportunity of comfort to have someone there that he knows? Is it worth it? I mean, Wells is not the seventh receiver. Typically, is probably not going to touch the field throughout the season. We can agree on that. Maybe short times of maybe a
Yeah,
handful of
injury,
receptions throughout the
injuries. Yeah,
year.
yeah,
So, is it worthy of the Giants to take the seventh guy? Whether Wells is, I'm not saying if everybody's better than him, but I think he's right up there with all these guys that they have signed. Is it
yeah.
important for the Giants to consider Jackson Dart when making this decision to give him the opportunity to have someone there for him?
I certainly think that the NFL is much more of a business than a lot of people try and put out to. I mean,
Agreed.
Dart has a lot of expectation. I mean, just go back to Eli Manning's rookie year. The Giants were probably going to make the playoffs with Kurt Warner that year. And then Eli lost six in a row, lost six straight games. I mean, the Giants were, let's see, when he came in to start Eli, the Giants were, I believe, 5-4 to my knowledge. And they brought Eli in, and it was really rough. It was really rough. And he just found a way to get it together. The way that Eli handled himself, and so did Jones, is defense. You just can't let a lot of the outside noise in. And it seems like it's just so hard to get a grasp on how a quarterback will be able to handle the New York pressure. I don't think there'll be a lot of it this year. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but you just have a lot of different personalities in that quarterback room. It is diverse. You have Russell Wilson, who acts as much of a pro as there is. You have Jameis Winston, who's a goofball. I mean, I love the guy. And then you have Tommy DeVito, who had his, insanity run in 2023. So will certainly be. I mean, I think that Juice has a chance to make this roster based on his talent alone. I mean, you could just think of players that just need one chance. Victor Cruz came in the second half against the Jets, how he made the roster. And then he really lost his chance against the Redskins that first week, had a drop, and then Dominic Hickson got hurt. And then it was really Cruz's job from there on out. So you really need, I mean, you need luck in this league. You need someone to go down to showcase your talent. When you're playing with the third team in the preseason, it's very hard to succeed. The offensive linemen aren't as good. You don't have as much time to, throw. I mean, Dart's going to get his looks in the preseason. If he's playing with the threes, Dart's probably going to wind up playing with him. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. It's a
So
good
you
play.
don't you don't think they're having any consideration towards the
No,
mindset of their first round pick?
no, I do
I
not.
tend to agree with you only because, like you said, it is a business, and I think it would help him. But I also agree that we're here to win football games, not to, pamper players that we draft in the first round. So I agree.
And then going to the defensive side of the ball, and then we'll talk about the two highlights. You had one here from the draft. I have another, but drafting a guy as Darius Alexander, I certainly think puts Raheem Nunez Roches on the bubble. This is a guy that has really struggled since coming over from the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. They signed Roy Robertson Harris, who I think is going to be a big part of the defensive line as well. They also signed Jeremiah Ledbetter from Jacksonville. I mean, the Giants just did so much to the defensive line this offseason. Elijah Chapman, that's a guy who came as an undrafted free agent last year and made the roster. I mean, I still think he's a bolt of energy. I mean, he made one play in preseason. We ran a guy down like 20 yards. The linebackers scare me a little bit for sure. Okereke wasn't very good last year. Musal didn't really showcase as much as I would have liked. Micah McFadden's excellent. Carter, I think, is going to certainly slot in a linebacker from time to time. Chris Board and Chauncey Golston they got in free agency from Dallas. I mean, from Baltimore and Dallas, respectively. And then the secondary's really improved. I mean, it's a really improved secondary. Flock, Phillips, Hawkins, Banks, Holland, Newbin, Adebo, Page. It's much better than it was. So, really looking forward to that. And Corey Black as well. So we will see how that works out. And then the Giants special teams, it's pretty much set in stone. They'll have Gillen, Gano, Kriders, the long snapper, kicker, punter. Gillen was signed to controversy. It was a little bit of controversy around the Giants there, and special teams with him being brought back. Smith Marset will certainly be the kick and punt returner. But yeah, pretty much all set there. Any surprise on the defense side of the ball? Anything you're looking for as an overlook for New York?
Yeah, I'll tell you, there is a surprise on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, excuse me. We look scary. I mean, that's a scary defense, and it is. Yes, it is surprising as a Giants fan. This is the first time we could say this in a very long time. There is not many flaws if everybody plays their A game. I mean, yes, on paper we're a top 10 defense, but I'm telling you, like, maybe even lower ranked. This is a top 3 defense if everybody can play their game consistently. Now, obviously, I know we're at the professional level, but when you're being paid so much money, we expect you to play consistently, right? So I'm very excited to see the way that we handle this defense this year. I think it's going to give our offense a real good opportunity to come out on top a lot of games.
And then I just want to talk about the extra thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up here on episode 50, as I reiterated. So Travis Hunter did go with the second overall pick, but not to the expected team. Browns did a lot of interesting things in this draft, man. Let me tell you. So they traded away who would have been Travis Hunter, generational talent, first player ever, I believe, to be drafted in the first round that is listed as being able to play two positions. So congratulations on that accomplishment. I mean, I think he's a really enjoyable player. I mean, this is a guy that is known for not really being involved ever in the party scene in college, 4.0 GPA. I mean, just a lot of accolades I think you look for as a head coach and a general manager, someone that has been groomed and a mature young man to be able to be your first overall selection. He certainly helps Trevor Lawrence, this is a big year for him. Certainly steps back since that playoff year. And then the other thought I had was certainly Shadur Sanders going all the way down to what here, the fifth round, right? Fifth round.
Yeah, 6th pick in the 5th round.
Yeah, so to the Cleveland Browns, I mean, that draft was just weird. They drafted Dylan Gabriel. I don't understand why you would draft him and Sanders. Um, they got rid of Hunter. You could have had Hunter and Sanders then. I mean, there's just so many different ways you could think about this. But the one thing I will say, and the NFL needs to, do a better job of this for sure, is the prank calls. I mean, you wait your entire life to be able to get a call to know you're going to be in the National Football League. I know Tyler Warren, Penn State or tight end, All American. For someone to prank call him and then someone to prank call Sanders, whether you know it's funny too that Sanders dropped. It's or all the media that's around him or the parties. I mean, it's still a lifelong dream to be able to receive a phone call and be known that there's a one of 32 teams that's taken their trust in you. So it definitely needs to be looked at. I know those numbers are private, they're not their public numbers. So only people that are in the NFL originally get that number to be able to call the specific prospect. So obviously those were leaked to people that are family members of those NFL personnel. And whoever took that video, I believe it was the Falcons defensive coordinator, no idea why your son would record it. So it doesn't make much sense. But, anyways, my thoughts there. I know you asked me about Hunter pre-show. You asked me about Shadur. And anything else you have to talk about here?
Um, let's just talk about Hunter quick with that exchange, with that trade, right? So the Browns trade 2 for the 5 and next year's first rounder, right? So we can agree that maybe at the start of the draft, I'm not talking about now, obviously things have changed, with them drafting 2 quarterbacks. But at the start of the draft, there was, a lot of stigma, which this wasn't going to be a quarterback year, and that maybe the Browns were trading up to allow for their year to be next year. Next year's going to be a really good quarterback class, right? So when you say yes, he is a generational talent, I agree. He could play both sides of the ball. He had 1,500 snaps last year, almost evenly equaling offense and defense. And then he had, I believe, another almost 200 snaps on special teams, right? So he's played everywhere. This is a Swiss Army knife type of player that could do everything, finish in the top 10, no matter what position you put him in, right? But when you think about it, the Browns traded one pick for an opportunity to have two of him. Or I'm sorry, two different players that make up him, right? So yes, they pick at 5, and then next year they pick in the first round again, along with their other first round picks. So one
Yep.
could be used if for a quarterback. If this doesn't work out for them, I don't think that's the route they'll go now that they have selected to. But they also have another first round pick, so they can pick someone that maybe is a corner, and then maybe someone that is a wide receiver. So maybe they something that they didn't like about him, right? Um, I did want to talk quick about, just because we didn't brush upon it. I know we're coming to an end here, but Russell Wilson, he is not like the typical Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type of relationship where, well, at least I don't see it, where he's gonna go, he's my backup. It's not my it's not my responsibility to mentor him. I
Yeah.
think Russ is gonna go, come here, Dart, let's go, arm over his shoulder, saying this is how we do it around here.
Yep.
And I'm very excited for that. I think the last thing I want to say is, if I had to give the Giants a draft grade for this draft, I would probably give him an A minus, because nothing's perfect, right? I would have liked to have seen a center, right? I think you would have liked
Yeah.
to have seen a center at a certain point, but I think it was a pretty good draft for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain. You know, you're pretty much. I mean, I know I just said that twice. I mean, but you're getting a generational talent in Abdul Carter. I mean, there's just no
Yeah.
doubt about it. The guy is just a freak of nature, playing through crazy injuries in the college football playoff. He'll be a lot of fun. So
Well, think about how hard it was this year for all GMs. This was one of the biggest draft classes ever because of the COVID years and the extra
yeah,
NCAA eligibility.
it's a
So
great
to really
point.
have to
Great point.
dive in and look how many more guys were on the Giants draft board every round, it's difficult. So I think they did a very good job. Like you said, generational talent.
That'll wrap it up for episode 50 on the Rovner Report. Be back in about 2 weeks here. Just talk a little bit more about the NFL. Certainly always something that pops up. So AJ Rovner, Mike Delgatti, we will see you in about 2 weeks. So enjoy your week here as we spring into May and the nice weather that I believe is upon us. And have a great rest of your Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.